And welcome back, and it is the higher plus 5 a day for the 13th of March, and let's just jump straight into the first question. So we have a sequence. It looks to be not geometric, quadratic, because I can see the differences are different. And it says, a slight twist here, which term is the first term to be negative? Okay. What it clearly wants me to do is it wants me to work out the nth term. It doesn't want me to just work out which term becomes negative, although that will work, and technically the question doesn't say use algebra, but I know that's what it means. So let's do it that way. So first of all, what's my difference? I'm going down by 10, I'm going down by 15, yeah, and down by 20, and my second difference is minus 5. So therefore my A term is going to be minus 5 over 2. Wow, not very nice at all. Usual process I do here. So let's write down the sequence again. So 400, 390, 375. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the square numbers underneath, but the square numbers are multiplied by minus 2.5 or minus 5 over 2. So that gives me, well, the first one's easy, isn't it? Because 1 squared is 1 times my minus 5 over 2 just gives me minus 2.5. So far, so good. The second one is 2. 2 squared is 4. 4 times minus 5 over 2 is minus 10. Yeah, that's correct. And the third one, I'm just going to check out my calculator to check I don't get the wrong thing. The third one is going to be 3 squared is 9. 9 times 2.5 is 22.5. So that's going to be minus 22.5. Now, I know whether I've got this right or wrong because this will give me a linear sequence. If it doesn't, I'll probably made an error. So 400 minus 2.5 is 402.5. I'm laughing because it's a horrible, difficult question. 390 minus 10 is 400, and 375 minus 22.5 doesn't quite get me there, does it? It gets me to 397.5. Now, let's look at these differences. So the difference here, this goes down by 2.5 and this goes down by 2.5. So I'm happy I've done the right thing. Moreover, this here is a linear sequence with the nth term minus 2.5n, and I want to get back to 402.5, so I need to add on 405. Wow, this question doesn't disappoint at all, does it? Which means my nth term is going to be minus 2.5n squared minus 2.5n plus 405. And I'm still not finished. So I need to work out when this sequence first gets to 0. Because by definition, if it starts at 400, when it gets to 0, the next term is the term that's through the 0. So I'm basically just solving my equation, aren't I? Now, can I factorise this? I'm pretty sure I can't. Multiply it by 2 to make it into slightly nicer numbers, but I'm just not going to spend the time doing it. So as I've said it elsewhere, if I can't factorise it in a minute, just go straight to the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula tells me it's minus b, so it's 2.5, plus minus the square root of b squared, which is 2.5 squared, minus 4 times minus 2.5, so that's plus 4 times 2.5, times 405, and divide all of that by 2 times a, and 2 times 2.5 is minus 5. Now, I already know I need the positive, but I'm going to work out both numbers anyway, just to check it's right. Put it in the calculator, and I get minus 13.2 or 12.2. Now, let's think about what this means. That seems not to make sense, but of course, I can only think about positive n. So it's not that one because I need my n to be positive because it's a sequence. So therefore, this is the value if I had continuous terms, which gets me to 0, which means the first term that is through 0 is the 13th term. Now, what does the question actually want me to do? The question says which term? Well, actually, that's right, isn't it? So which term? It's the 13th term. I think if I was in an exam, I'd probably just work out what the 13th term is just in case it's a weirdly worded question. So I'm going to put the 13th term into un. So that's going to be minus 2.5 times 13 squared minus 2.5 times 13 plus 405. Again, calculator out, and that gives me minus 50. That is probably the hardest question we've started with on any day so far this year. So well done if you made any progress on that at all. That said, if this was a real exam question, this feels very much like a near end of paper question because there's a lot to this. If this is a real exam question, it would have been a couple of marks for getting the nth term, maybe 3 marks for getting the nth term. It would have been a mark for then solving, a mark for seeing the two solutions. So you would have picked up a lot of marks along the way, even if you didn't get the correct answer at the end. Let's move on. Next question. Express 5 minus root 2 squared in the form, okay, a little bit easier now. So basically I just need to expand this, don't I? So 5 minus root 2 times 5 minus root 2. I'm going to use my usual expansion method. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times minus root 2 is minus 5 root 2. Then I do the other side, so minus root 2 times 5 is minus 5 root 2 again, unsurprisingly. And root 2 times root 2 is 2, minus and minus makes a plus, so that's going to be plus 2. Bring all this together and I get 27 minus 10 root 2. Significantly quicker than the last horrible question. Next question. Factorise. Now, at the risk of stating the very obvious, the fact it says the word factorise means I can factorise. So I'm just going to go for it knowing that it will work. So it's definitely going to be 3x and x. This is a minus and this is a plus, which means both of these have to be minus to make the c term plus. And then it's basically going to be 10 and 1 or 2 and 5. And 2 and 5 seem like a good guess. They especially seem like a good guess because I know 3 times 5 is 15 and x times 2 is 2x, both negative, and 15 plus 2 is 17, so therefore that's going to be my answer. Note it's factorise, not solve, so that's completely correct. Next question. Calculate the area of the segment. Right, doesn't give me an angle. How am I going to do that? Oh, of course it doesn't give me an angle because it gives me a length of the arc. Right, okay. Some really difficult questions today. I need to use the arc length to work out the angle here. So I'm going to use the formula that theta over 360, in other words, a fraction of the arc, times by the total circumference, 2 times pi times radius, which is 9, is equal to 10. So in other words, theta is going to be equal to 10 times by 360 divided by 18, 2 times 9 times pi. So calculator out again. So calculator out, that's going to give me 10 times 360 divided by 18 pi, and that gives me 63.661977, etc. I'm going to use a few decimal places here because you should use more decimal places as you're working out. So 63.6620. That seems close in, good enough. Then I need to calculate the area of the segment. The area of the segment is going to be the angle 63.6620 divided by 360 times by the area of a circle, which is going to be pi times r squared, which is going to be 9 squared. Now, to be clear, I'm actually working out the sector, not the segment. So let's do the sector first. So divide that by 360, times it by 81 pi, and that gives me, well, that gives me a very nice number of 45. Okay. Next part. I've worked out the whole segment sector. I need to take away the triangle, which just leaves me with the green part. So that the triangle is going to be a half times by 9. So I'm using half ABC sine C. So 9 times 9 times sine of the angle in between, which is 63.6620. Now, if you're watching this video and you're thinking, I have no idea what you've just written down, this is often the last topic taught. So you may not quite have got to half ABC sine C yet, but this is what I'm doing here. It's one of the formulas that you'll learn later. So again, calculator out. So 0.5 times 81 times sine of 63.6620, and that's going to give me 36.296. So 36.296, and I'm just going to do one minus the other. So 45 minus the answer I've just got, and that gives me a final answer of 8.70. Is it centimetres? Yes, it is. 8.70 centimetres squared. Again, not an easy question. Today has, I mean, we started off very difficult, had an easy one in the middle, an easy-ish factorised, and a difficult question as well. Let's see what we're going to end with today. Right, so I've got a triangle. How much closer is the boat at point X? Right, okay, I'm just going to write it in. So the boat's here, and then port Y is obviously Y, so I won't write the word port, and port Z is obviously Z. How many? Oh, okay. So basically, it's just saying, can you calculate these two lengths, isn't it? Right, let's write it out all in one go. So xz, I'm going to use a sine rule. So again, if you haven't seen half ABC sine C, you won't have seen this either. So xz over the opposite angle, which is sine 60, is equal to xy, which I also don't know, but will need, over the opposite angle, which is sine 45. And that's equal to 28, which is the length here, with the opposite angle. And of course, this angle here is 180 minus 60 minus 45, which is going to be equal to 75 degrees. So that's going to be over sine 75, which means xz is equal to 28 sine 60 over sine 75. Let's just work that out. So 28 sine 60 over sine 75 gives me 25.1. On your calculator, you may have been given a lot of surds, so I'm just turning it into a number. So 25.1. What does the question want? How much closer? Okay, so I'm just going to do one decimal place. And then what do I want? Xy is equal to 28 sine 45 divided by sine 75. So again, calculator out. So change my 60 to a 45 on my calculator. That's why good calculator knowledge is helpful here, which gives me 20.5. And the question says, how much closer? So I need the difference. So the answer is 25.1 minus 20.5, which is going to give me 4.6. And it's measuring in miles, so 4.6 miles. I only have one word to say after all that, and that word is wow. Really, really tricky set of questions, testing thorough understanding of each of these topics. I won't say them all again, but the first one obviously pretty detailed, the last one pretty detailed, and the one before the end, or the penultimate one, quite difficult as well. Do let me know how you did. If you got all those, be very proud of yourself, because again, really difficult mix today. Well done. I don't know how long this video has been, but I suspect it's been quite long, but either way, I'll see you for tomorrow. Thanks all.